Becky and Jade. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and read Becky's story. It says, hi, my name is Becky. I live in Alberta, Canada. And it was in 2010, and I had been regularly experiencing a week right after a trim that I would have to boot my horse on all 4 feet to ride her, as she was very tender, and this had been going on for years, and she was regularly trimmed every 6 to 8 weeks all year long. After a week, I could ride with just front hoof boots most of the time, or sometimes no boots. But my horse was always tender and a little sore. So I figured it was just her white feet, and she had very thin soles. Oh, yeah, that's what, and yeah, because isn't that what farriers tell you? Oh, them white-footed horses. You know, Molly had white feet. She had the best feet ever once I trimmed them right. Okay, so Becky continues to say, I had metal shoes put on that summer in an effort to make it easier for me and her, as then she could walk on gravel without hurting, and I didn't need to boot every day. When the shoes went on that day, she was too sore to ride with the shoes on, so I just put her away. This is so sad. She was sore like that for 4 days, and finally I put her boots over her shoes and went for a short ride to get her moving and used to the shoes. I have found movement, as long as they are not lame, they can bear weight to help stimulate and heal the feet. The next day, I badly broke my leg. Oh, that's terrible. On an older project horse that went to bucking. So I never really got to ride her with those shoes on. Due to having to do lots of physical therapy, I'm sure, and having to basically relearn how to walk on my leg after a very bad break. Wow. I had learned to observe movement more and pay more attention to why something wasn't working right. That's awesome. And I knew from my own experience that the little things make a lot of difference. So I was observing Jade's feet more and more, and I knew something was wrong with how they were being trimmed. I kept asking her, must have been a girl trimming her, huh? I kept asking her about heels when she would be trimmed, but never really got any answers. Boy, that's an age-old story too. I knew something was not right because of her short strides and movement and stance. When she was just standing, she often looked like she was standing on a ball, like in a circus act. And even her movement in the pasture was short, strided. Oh, this is a great story, Becky. And I did read it before. I had always watched the farriers trim, and my dad, when I was young, as he trimmed our own horses, and asked a lot of questions as I was truly interested. So I decided to learn more about trimming. So I just got a book online about barefoot trimming and started out very slowly and carefully doing Jade, reading and rereading and studying the pictures. And I would take the binder with me so that I could also look at it and the instructions when I was out trimming. I have a problem-solving type of brain, and this was a problem to be solved. Boy, I can relate to you. Don't just take people's word, absolute, but try things if the theory made sense to my mind, and I would also think through the movement to see if what I was learning made sense to me. At first, Jade seemed to be getting a little more comfortable, but I just knew that her toes were abnormally long, so I was still searching for answers, as this book didn't really address that. I tried metal shoes again the next summer, using a different farrier in case it was the farrier, as I really didn't didn't get to ride them the first time. Right? Oh, yeah, ride your horse. I remember that. You broke your leg. Anyway, she walked out finding them, but when she loped, it was like riding a bounding deer. It was so uncomfortable. I just didn't want to ride the lope anymore, and she really didn't want to lope either. When I had them pulled just before 6 weeks, she was sore for about 6 months, and even in the field, even after a couple of trims, but you could still ride her in boots. That is when I decided that I could not do any worse than the farriers were doing and started to trim in earnest, reading and watching videos and learning all I could in an effort to help fix what was happening to Jade. That is when I found the Happy Hoof on YouTube. I saw some of Linda's videos and about shortening up the toes. I felt like she was onto something with rasping the leverage off those toes. That just made sense to me. So I watched it many times, and then I went out and shortened up my toes the way she was doing it, then rockering. She was now moving a little better, but still always tender, and the heels still didn't look right to me as they were so low, as her heels had been trimmed out, and I just didn't know that yet. So I just kept following Linda's videos, and I found out eventually too. And then as I would trim, and I would try and observe and feel by the movement when I was riding to see if what I was doing was helping or hindering. I was basically learning by trial and error on my poor horse with some guidance from Linda's videos. Yeah, well, you were doing the same thing I was doing. But for the most part, she was more comfortable than she'd been in years. I liked that Linda taught you to think about things, observe what is happening, and see if what you are doing is helping or not, or why it wouldn't be helping. I had a breakthrough one day as I'd been thinking about it for a long time, and it became clear to me that Jade needed to grow heels and that I needed to stop trimming them for a while. That's really interesting. I had that same thing before I found out about the anatomy of the heel buttress, the science of it. I had this thought kept coming to me, and it kept saying something like, what is the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And every time I think of the heels, I'd have that thought. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to grow the heels and see what happens. So I see that you are coming to the same revelation, Becky. So Becky continues. She says, I thought it all through, and it made perfect sense to me that in order for the dorsal wall to get a steeper angle on it, which it had been trying to get for a couple of years, your horse has to have heels. That is so interesting, because see, that was the same thing I was thinking when I was looking, and I didn't do any videos on that. No heels, then a flat foot with low heels, really just sidewall and a long toe. Unknown to me. Oh, yeah, see, here she goes. Unknown to me, Linda had also come up with the same idea, but she was more advanced than I was, and she understood the anatomy way more than I did. So she was able to help me know how to trim them when I finally had heels on Jade. So even though I've had some frustrations and made some mistakes, and we all have, with Linda's guidance through videos and pictures and even an occasional markup, I can see that Jade's feet have improved a lot, but they still have a lot of room for improvement. Well, I've made my share of mistakes, and hopefully I've learned from them, and I'm still learning. I have learned that I am way more dangerous with the nippers than the rasp, and that when I get lazy and don't take many pictures, I miss the little things that then turn into big things. Boy, that's the truth. As the naked eye just doesn't see everything. Since I've over-trimmed before using nippers, I am a lot more careful now, as my poor horse was sore for days. My trimming is still a long ways from perfect, and my eye still needs more work, and I need to keep the image in my mind of what that foot should really look like, as I saw it trimmed incorrectly for so long and see it like that on so many horses all around. But I am still learning and probably will always be learning, as every horse is a little different. I'm trying to do better and definitely a lot more careful about over trimming. My theory now is that I can always go back and take a little more off in a day or so, since I only trim our horses. My horses live outside, and it is fairly rocky around here, and most of the land is on a hillside, so their hooves need to be able to handle rocks, as there is a fair number of them naturally in their pasture. I look forward to learning more as Linda takes us on this journey, and I got to tell you, I look forward to learning from you guys. We will all learn a lot from Linda, and I'm learning from you, okay, as well as each other. I am very thankful that Linda so freely shares her knowledge with us and that she is a gifted teacher. I am posting each foot in a separate reply. That way I can add to them each trim and see the changes. I thought that was a great idea. The ones with pink lines are mapped, with the exception to the bars, which are mapped the old way, and the heels are measured and marked also. Awesome. Well, that was a wonderful story. It was so well written. I enjoyed it very much, and I just think it's this whole deal about how you do have a mind that looks for answers. I can tell that. Very analytical mind. You're going to find, I'm going to fix this thing. That was a great story, Becky, and I'm sure everybody here can really relate to what you have been through. We all have so much in common. Well, now we're going to look at Becky's horse's pictures. First, look at that beautiful girl, and look at where she lives. I mean, that is just beautiful. We have beautiful fences, everything. Well, let's look at Jade's feet. Oh, you're there. Yeah, I'd say you have a few rocks around there. Molly's feet look just like this. But as these feet start to correct, Becky, you see just the quality of hoof wall, how it is? All that was really starting to grow out on her. And she was getting the nice hoof wall like it is up here. See, you're getting a better quality of hoof wall already up here. I'm going to have to study your feet a little bit, Becky, a little bit more. Sometimes I got to look a bit. I can't just go abracadabra. Becky, is this the right rear? Okay. Yeah, her feet look a lot like what Molly's right rear. So the reason I'm not saying anything, people, is because I'm thinking. Definitely the whole foot is run forward. You're going to have to get a handle on the toe and on the tubules in the side to start getting them to come back. And your bars, we're going to have to work on your bars and on some of this sole. Do you see how you could have some retained sole in there? Let me show you a picture of Valor's back foot next to your foot and next to the sole that you've got here, okay? Then Becky says, the next photos are after I cleaned up the sole and took the bars over. Okay, well, is this it here? Left rear, this is where you trimmed the foot here? See, definitely you're dealing with collapsed heels, of course, because for how long her heels were trimmed out. When you trim the heels out of the horse, well, it's put all these horn tubules at a lower angle and growing forward, and especially in the heel. Yeah, see, once all this starts coming to back, you'll get a much better quality of hoof wall. Yeah, she's kind of walking back on her bulbs, isn't she, Becky? Okay. Definitely, you're going to have to trim up this frog and get the excess frog off them. Oh, I'm sure it is better than it was, dear, and it'll get better still. As you consistently do this mapping, because like on this foot, you've mapped it, but you haven't trimmed it. Is that correct? Okay. Do you have pictures up here of trimming the foot? So I need to keep going. Okay, this is the right front. See why she's sore. Everything is just so out of place. but I do think they're going to get better. As you apply this mapping and just get real consistent with it, they'll get stronger. Well, let's just go through some of the rest of the feet. See now, in my other webinar, I want to get these webinars to where you guys can talk, and then you can explain some things about your own horse's feet too as we're doing this. So this is the right front. Let's look at a front foot for now. So you've been growing the heels back. Do you have this foot mapped down the line there? Let's just go ahead and look through the pictures. Yeah, see all these, this here, I think that you're going to benefit from that alternate beveling, because look at here on this foot is very similar to what Louisa's was. Because remember, when the heels are trimmed out, what happens? Then these horn tubules grow forward. Now, look at this horn tubule here. Now, again, because the heels have been trimmed out of our horses, we got to pay attention to what went on with the growth of these horn tubules, and what Becky has going on here with this foot is the same thing. Okay, I can see a horn tubule right here. See it? Okay, see it? And you can see where it's raised up right here as well. You know, you're going to benefit, Becky, from that alternate trimming, because that's why the hoof wall quality is so bad. You know, even on Louisa's horse, the hoof wall quality was not good. I want to show you a good hoof wall quality. See, I had the same thing going on with Molly's back feet and different things like that. So I know that kind of hoof wall quality when it gets bad like that. Okay, see it? See the difference of how it is down here? See how it was changing up here? Now, her heels were not fully restored yet. Okay, see on the sides it looks even better, but you can see some of the remainder of that bad quality hoof that she had on her. But see how that is right there? The little cracks? Okay, see how it was getting better. I was growing them out. Stretched and flared, and there's a lot of pressure on the lamina, and the foot is just not together. You've got to work on these pillars, do that alternate beveling on these pillars and on this toe, so this toe will start coming, because the only way to straighten out heels is the domino effect. And you got to keep growing them like you are. You also have to make sure you're not growing just false heel. Okay, this is hard to explain. When you trim the heels out, now we've seen how you trim this wall out and the hoop caps will actually get smaller, right? And some cartilages, they'll just fold up and into the foot, but that hasn't happened with Becky's horse. The cartilage is still full and the correct shape. That's the correct shape of the cartilage. Instead, the bulb is sticking out the back of the capsule here. Well, I know, and I've been correcting mine for 2 years too, Becky, but my horse ain't right yet either. You know, we trimmed them, the heels were trimmed out for what, 7, 8 years? And yes, we have been growing heels back, but the problem is that we haven't known how to do a lot of the other stuff. See, the heels won't be totally correct until you can start getting this dorsal wall correct in the same fashion that I was telling Louise about. How it's going to be just kind of a domino effect. You know, you're going to, if you bevel the pillar here, that's going to allow this to come down a little bit. See where it's a little risen like that? See? It's going to allow this to come down a little bit, and that's going to allow this to maybe move back just a little bit. Then you're going to come in, then what's going to happen after that? This dorsal wall, you're going to come in here, you're going to do the regular trim, you're going to take the dorsal wall back to the white line. Okay, that's going to allow this to move just a hair right there. Now, this probably won't need to come down because we're always kind of beveling the dorsal wall, so a lot of times the hairline is not jammed up right in the center toe. That's going to move a little bit. At the same time, you've beveled the dorsal wall to the white line, So it's moved back a little bit. The bevel has come out. Okay. On that trim also, here in the quarter, you beveled it. That gave it a little bit of room. It allowed it to move back just a hair. So then you're going to come in and you're going to do the pillars again. What's going to happen? You're going to come in, you're going to do the pillar. You're going to bevel it to the white line right there. That gave it a little bit of room there. Room to move. Have room to move. It comes down like that. So you come out in a couple days and it looks like it grew, but it didn't. It was just the jammed up wall moving down out of the capsule. You come out and it's moved down. But the thing is, what this stuff does is it also moves back a hair. And not only that, but the wall up here, it's going to want to grow down straighter anyway, like this. This is doing this in waves. So then what'd that do? That gave this wall here just a little bit of room. So when you come in there and you bevel it a little bit, what's it going to do? It's going to move back just a tad, just a touch. And then this wall here, you came in, you beveled it again. It gave it just a little bit of room to move back. See the process here? Look at what we've done with their foot already. It's back to here. So what are we doing there? What are you doing? This is what you're doing. What are you moving? You're moving this sole here as well. You're not just moving this, okay? Now, this is why the hoof wall quality is bad. Look at the strain on the lamina. See, this horn tubule here is supposed to be following this lamina right here. Understand? Instead, it's stretching it, and there's internal injury going on. Your horse's foot is like this. We want this to do what happened here. We want this piece of wall to all come back, and that's how you do it. You know, in little increments at a time and given all that room. And it's not only that the hoof wall itself is going to want to shrink back because it doesn't like being pulled out of shape like that. But as the growth comes down, it's going to be able to reconnect correctly. So you're trimming off this wall as it's moving back. You're trimming it out, the excess hoof wall in this capsule in the wrong spot. And so as it's all moving down, it's excising this hoof wall out of the capsule. Becky, do you have any questions about that kind of there? Yeah, alternate beveling at toe and pillars. I'm going to show you where your horse's foot is supposed to be. See the hairline here and the hoof? I'm going to connect here. Right there. That's where your dorsal wall should about be. All these. Look at this horn tubule here. See, you know where that has to come to? Right about there. That's where it should be growing down to. Now this can't move. Nothing can move on here without affecting something else. So this horn tubule is here right now, and here's your heel under here. Now, can all these move without eventually pushing this? No, they can't. Eventually, they can't do this without eventually getting back here and pushing all that too. What happened? The heels got trimmed out and it changed the whole weight-bearing equilibrium between the hoof capsule and the foot. It put it at odds to one another. The hoof capsule becomes an enemy to the inner foot. I will answer that question. So, Becky, have you got any more questions? Okay, dear. Well, thank you, Becky, and keep up the good work. Okay, well, any questions you got, I'll definitely work with. Did she start holding those farriers and the people that trimmed her horse accountable and decided to do it herself? But she held herself accountable. She admitted to trimming and soring her horse, and so have I. Not for a long time. I mean, the last time just a tiny bit was when everything shifted and moved on Valor's foot 1/4 of an inch, and I took back some toe into the sole. But he wasn't sore. He was kind of offish, but nothing like sometimes things would be in the past. And what you think is, oh, it's that transition and your wild horse foot is just around the corner, but without heels, no, it isn't. But what I'm hoping for is that eventually some of you will learn to do this and be mentors to others, be able to personally help other people. And that's what I'm kind of building, an army of accountable mentors that are knowledgeable. Everybody's the same. We all know the same stuff. So Becky says, I'm finding each trim now. I need to trim the heels as things are gradually moving back. Well, good. Well, now that you see this, and here's another thing. The frog gets distorted, okay? And when looking at this foot, I'm just going, this toe seems very far out here for this foot. So you might want to check the apex of your frog. I need to teach this at some point, how you come up right up to here and eyeball it and draw a line straight down. And that's where the apex of your frog, true apex of your frog should be, right in there somewhere, within 1/4 of an inch, right in there. It's just a way to test to make sure the true apex of your frog is not stretched way forward. But until you really learn how to do this, don't just go drawing a line and going, gee, my apex of my frog should be clear back here. I think I'll take off my toe to here. You know, don't be doing that. This is a lesson. I'd have to take a good hour to show you how to do this. It comes in handy on horses that have rotated or have stretched forward toes and the frog apex has stretched forward. Ah, see, that makes sense, Becky, from what I'm seeing of this foot. Becky says, I have been digging the frog apex out, and each time it's moved back some. I show in that one video how Valor's moved back. Now, I found this out years ago. I figured my frog apex was stretched and my toes were real long. I've learned different ways to find the true apex of the frog. The true apex of the frog is supposed to be where it blends in with the sole, but that can get stretched forward. I'm going to read this from Barb Miracle. And she says, it is hard to picture that the inner foot does not experience some discomfort as the toe is shortened, as the heel takes significantly more time to stand up than it takes to shorten the toe. That is to say, will the horse not be a bit ouchy in those times that the toe is being moved back, as this pushes the inner foot into a smaller space before the heel has time to move? And can you speak about releasing the frog from the grown forward heel? I don't know if I can do all of that right now. We're all, like I said, I started this, but you people got to finish it. Only by doing quite a few horses and seeing their reaction. Like, what if we took the toe back too fast? Would that, compress the foot in there? I just don't have all the answers to that, Barb. Things we need to think about, and I would have to think about that. No, don't be sorry. These are all questions that we need to have and that we need to discover. Yeah, there are going to be times when you're going to have an ouchy horse, but some stuff is going to make a horse ouchy, but if it's for like weeks, we don't want that. We don't want what we have seen in the past. It stands to reason that these horses are not correct to begin with. They're having problems to begin with. So we're trying to discover the best way to restore their feet and keep them comfortable at the same time. We never want to get to that place where we just think it's okay for them to be sore, like some of these groups, that are just butchering, teaching people to butcher their horses. I would think as things are getting more correct, you're going to see more soundness and more comfort. That's what I started seeing. It wasn't overnight always, but I haven't had any real bad setbacks. But I have seen where I have missed opportunities to trim the foot and I've had regression. Okay, I'm going to show you my horse's feet, the state that they're in right now. I try and show the best pictures, you know. Can't help that. I'm going to show you Valor's feet. I'm going to show you the exact state they're in. Now, his heels are still underrun from being trimmed out. Some of these pictures look so weird, I hate to show them. Okay, this is that same left foot that I've been trimming on. But look at the horn tubules, how nicely they're lining up. And see right here, I had a big crack that would never go away. And it's been closing up and not come back, because that's how you get quarter cracks and cracks right there. Is this wall runs forward. It couldn't go any forward than that, and so it cracks. Okay, Jody, do a whole teaching on that. Maybe I'll take an hour to teach on the periopal. That has to be addressed, because look at Valor's periopal. Look at the uniformity of it and the health of it. Look, it's not hardly very wide back here either, is it? Any wider than right here. We need to discuss that, because this is very important stuff. And here's something that happens, and I'll show you pictures of that. When the heels are trimmed out. Now you have the coronary band for the heel buttress back here, a little triangular area. When the heels are trimmed out, this can actually slip up over that and totally cut it off. This gets displaced and pulled down over that heel buttress corium, so that your heel buttress is not even growing. And I'm going to show you some different feet where I've seen this going on. And on one of Valor's feet, it happened on one heel, like it just slipped, pulled right into there, suffocates it. This is like this because the heel is still underrun. Heel goes like this, so that goes up like that. So let's look at some more pictures. See where his heel is hitting here. But I can show you some other pictures of when it was forward like this. Now, see how we all want to make excuses for our horse's feet? Remember? Everybody wants to, well, you know, they were worse before. Everybody feel like that? Like you're almost embarrassed? But look at that nice, healthy periopal. Now all I got to do is get these heels to come back. See, quality of the hoof wall is very good. Now again, look at the horn tubules. Look at the horn tubules here. I haven't got a horn tubule here going clear up to there. Debbie says, yes, I feel like I caused the problems with my horse, and I did, but I am here to make them better. Yeah. Well, me too. I did too. Okay, here's the front. Now, I think I'm looking pretty good up here, but I've got this flare thing going on here. That's all being corrected. This foot was very asymmetrical, way out like this, and it's now coming in. Now, see, that looks bad, don't it? You can see how much that heel really goes under at that angle. So I'm hoping this is going to come in, but the other side doesn't look like that. This is the heel that's run forward. The other side is more upright, but that looks pretty good. But see how that heel's run forward? And this heel is more back. But I'll tell you what really healed up on him too was this frog stay right here. Okay, that's the other side. This is the right front. The other was the left front. I can show you where this here used to be clear up here. See this white line that shows the horn tubule was clear up here. But look at my dorsal wall, how my dorsal wall has come back. I can show you where my dorsal wall was clear up here, just like the horses that we've been looking at tonight. So, but now this is still coming back this way. See too that this beveling follows wherever your hoof is at here. Now that's the inside wall. Got a little bit of funky looking jamming looking there. This is the right foot. The first one was the left foot. Okay, remember both my feet were very asymmetrical out here. I did a video on how the whole sole came loose under here as this moved back in. The other foot has repaired itself much better. Here's back foot. See, my horse's feet are not perfect yet by any stretch of the imagination, but he's really comfortable and happy just having this heel. And I need to show you some pictures of this foot. This foot was really, really, really bad. Like no heel at all, like that. Quick question, Debbie. The horizontal line are straightening out in my horse's hoof, but the lateral side is more curved than the medial side. Am I not beveling at a sharp enough angle on that side? What you're going to find is that usually one side of these feet has been trimmed out more than the other, and that heel, the problem is that heel is bent forward. So it doesn't have anything to do with your beveling. It has to do with the conformation and distortion of the foot took on, and the lateral sides do that a lot. You know, gradually it will all straighten out. So this is his left hind. Okay, now you see how that hairline drops there? Okay, and that heel was very run forward, and this foot was very flared out like that, and steeper on this side. But it's more than just beveling. Just stay with the mapping and do a consistent trim and work with your horn tubules. Because you're able to do a consistent trim with the mapping, the foot starts to gradually change. And the horse gets to feeling better when you're growing those heels, keeping them comfortable. If the feet don't look perfect and we ain't got everything straightened out, but the horse is feeling better, we're doing our job. So that's the inside of that foot. Now see how that's steeper? I want to get him up off the ground. You know what I mean? These heels. Now you're going to find out that the back heels seem to repair slower than the front ones. Seem to grow slower. I don't know why. Okay, next time we're here, I'm going to show you where this bulb was sticking clear out back here, just like the heel had slipped off the end of the bulb, but now it's grown back on there. So that's cool. Because see, what you're doing is you are putting the foot back in the capsule. Okay, these bulbs should not be sticking out back here at all. Okay, there's where I'm measuring the dorsal wall. What do I use as a mat? Well, I got some of those big, heavy stall mats, and I just got them out in front of a tree here at the TACT research facility. Well, you all have a great week, and I look forward to seeing more pictures and hearing more things from you folks. And you remember that you are making history. What you're doing matters. It's going to matter for other horses and other people down the line, folks. Bye. Good night, everybody. God bless everybody. Protect everybody, and have a great week.